Welcome to Brea Talks, an insider's look into topics that affect your experiences in the city of Brea. Whether you live, work, or play here, we are bringing you the information you need to better understand your city. So now we invite you to listen in as Brea Talks.
Hello, and thank you for listening in. I'm Dan Fenstermaker, and today Brea talks more summer safety, this time with the Brea Police Department. With me today is Lieutenant Chris Harvey. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Dan, and thanks for giving the police department some focus.
Of course. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a lieutenant.
I am.
First of all, do I have to call you lieutenant? Do I have to salute you when you walk in the room? Is Chris okay? I don't want to find out after this pod that I should have been calling you lieutenant the entire time.
I prefer to be called Chris. I'm not a title person at all.
Okay. All right, Chris. That's great for both of us then. How long have you worked for Brea PD?
So I'm coming up on the end of my 24th year as a police officer. I've been a city employee since 1995, so August will be 28 years as a city employee. I actually started at the age of 14 as a police explorer here. That was in 1992, so if you do the math, I'm 46 and I've been here for 31 years and
wow,
over 2/3 of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a police officer growing up, and my dad was a police officer, and I started here and I've stayed here and I enjoy it here.
That's great.
I've worked patrol, I've been a detective, I've been a training officer, I've been on the SWAT team, I've been in the crime suppression unit, I've been patrol supervisor, detective supervisor, watch commander, area commander, and now I'm a professional standards lieutenant, which means I work for the chief and do administrative duties.
Very cool. And like kind of a public information officer as well for the department.
I'm the press information officer. I do Public Records Act requests. I wear many hats in my current role.
Very cool. Well, again, thank you for being here. So last episode we talked about with the fire department. We talked about summer safety regarding the importance of first aid and CPR, pool safety, signs of heat, stroke, heat exhaustion, how to mitigate potential wildfire damage to your property. And today we're going to look at summer safety from a different angle, more of a police department angle. So, Chris, what regarding calls for service, how did the summer months differ from that of other months, trends-wise?
That's a good question. So seasons definitely affect our busyness, and a summer night looks a lot different than a winter night as a patrol officer, with longer days and more heat and sunlight, kids not at school, college kids not at school. There's a lot more gatherings and a more active nightlife. Obviously, with the heat and the nightlife and the gatherings come drinking, and with that comes fighting and drunk driving and those types of calls.
Sure.
We also have a lot of people that travel, and there's issues that come with that when people are away and their houses are empty. And then we have tons of events in the summertime too, obviously with the good weather and people having time.
Right. So along with increases in calls this summer becomes inherently more busy purely based on the number of community events happening in Brea.
Sure. So we have our event is National Night Out, and I want to give that a shameless plug. It's on August 1st in the Brea downtown, and last year was the first year we did it downtown. It was really successful, and we look to build on that this year. And we like as many people as possible to come and learn about the police department and talk to our cops, and maybe even dunk a police officer in a dunk tank.
Sweet.
But we participate in Taste of Brea in May, Bonanza Days and the Father's Day Car Show in June, our National Night Out, obviously, Brea Fest in August, and then throughout the summer, concerts in the park. And we're involved in the planning and execution of all those events. They require, if you don't have never really thought about it, they require a lot of coordination.
Sure.
Between the police department, community services department, fire department, and public works. For facility reservations, facility preparation, road closures, permits, plans, all those things. It's a big undertaking to do each of those events, and there's a lot of them in the summer.
Sure. So you're involved from the onset of the planning of these events.
Yes, we're involved in the planning and the execution, and we're generally there. We have a presence at all those events.
Very, very cool. Some of the people that you see at these events, they're in light blue uniforms. They're not police officers per se. They're volunteers. Tell me a little bit about the volunteers in police program.
So they're invaluable to us. They're a group of, we call them VIPs, or volunteers in police service. They wear the light blue uniforms. They help at special events. You'll see them helping with road closures, walking around these events. They come in the middle of the night when we call them out to close roads or direct traffic. Rain or shine, day or night, they come out, and they relieve our police officers to go back into the field and not have to do a road closure or traffic control. They come during the week and they drive around, and they're usually they're in a white police car, and they do random patrols and check on parks and schools, and they also will check your house when you're on vacation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. How would one go about getting involved? Is there a link, website?
So we're always looking for volunteers. So if you search for Brea Volunteers in Police Service, you should find a link to get involved and volunteer. It's a pretty easy background process. We want to make sure you're not a bad person,
sure,
because we're giving you access to the police department, but then we're constantly taking volunteers. It's a very successful program, extremely beneficial to our department.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we're going to switch gears here for a minute. We're going to try something new. A new segment for this pod that I'm calling Is It True?
Okay.
And trying this out with you for the first time, so congratulations.
I'm game. Let's do it.
We'll see how it goes. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, quick answer questions. You do not have to go into detail, unless, of course, you want to, in which case, by all means, please. These are questions that I pulled off the internet by literally Googling dumb questions people ask when they find out you're a police officer.
I get that for sure, yeah.
All right, then let's do it. Chris, is it true that all police officers love donuts?
I think every human that's normal loves donuts. So, yeah, most cops do like donuts.
Okay.
Do we eat donuts a lot? No, we don't.
Okay. So the love is there, but not the obsession.
The love is there as human beings, but it's not an obsession like the myth would have you believe it.
Got it. Okay. Is it true that you have quotas?
We do not have quotas, and I've never known of a police department that I've worked with that has a quota.
Okay. So that's debunked. Is it true police officers can't write a ticket outside of the city or agency that they work in?
That's not true. In fact, we have jurisdiction anywhere in the state of California to write a ticket or arrest somebody, as long as we can send them to the right court.
Okay. Is it true undercover cops have to say they're undercover when they're asked?
No, it's not. And that's the reason undercover is because they keep their identity a secret.
I would imagine that would end the undercover
That would
program
blow the investigation
pretty
for sure,
pretty quickly. Is it true that you can't arrest someone in church?
No, that's not true.
It's not true.
People that go to church generally don't get arrested, but if we had to, we could.
Okay, it's not a cause effect thing.
Right.
Got it.
We could if we needed to.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
I don't see any sweat now. Just you were cool through the whole process, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right, so switching back to summer trends. An obvious trend for people is to go on vacation, leave town, like you mentioned earlier. What are some best practices residents can do when they go away for an extended period of time?
Well, there's quite a few things, actually. The first thing that comes to mind is to harden your target, like make your house, your car, whatever it is, harder to break into, less lucrative to break into, give the person that would break into your house or your car more of a belief they'll get caught versus not. So things like locking doors, locking gates, having external lights on, whether they're always on, they're on motion, they're on timers. Mm-hmm. If you have cameras, make sure they're visible. Not visible where a person could tamper with them, but where they know they're being recorded.
Sure, not like a hidden camera.
Right.
Like
anything to scare them away. And then on the more human element, have maybe a house sitter come and stay at your house, or people check on your house. Have good relationships with your neighbors in general, and then have that relationship where you can tell them, hey, I'm going to be away for a week. Can you keep an eye on my house? Empower them to call the police on your behalf. And then at the same time, if you're a neighbor and you see something out of the ordinary in your neighborhood, be empowered to call the police and report that, because
sure,
that's how we catch burglars most of the time. Is by neighbors calling on suspicious activity. We don't know where to go or where to be. We don't know what's normal and what's not. So we kind of rely on the people that live or work in that area to call us and report activity. And then the last thing we talked about already is you can sign up on our website for a vacation house check, and our volunteers will come every day that you're away, and they'll check your doors and gates. And if there's something abnormal, they'll call some police officers over to investigate.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about everyday stuff? So, like, I'm sure alarms and security systems are beneficial whether you're home or away, but what are other things people can do on a daily basis, to protect their home or their property?
So again, like we have like programs or mottos like take it, lock it, keep it. Don't put valuables in your car. Lock your doors when you step away. Mm-hmm. There's a 9 o'clock routine that we've posted on our social media. Other agencies post on their social media that involves closing your garage, locking your doors, locking your gates, taking valuables from your car and locking it, making sure there's lights on outside. If you have cameras and alarms, making sure they're active. Just kind of common sense things, but making a routine of it.
Almost like setting an alarm for 9 o'clock on your phone, and then it's 9 o'clock, and you got to do all that. It's like a checklist.
That's your bedtime routine. You check your doors, check your car, make sure there's nothing that's a target for a crook to look at. Because people that, for example, break into cars and break the window, they don't break the window to see what's in the car. Mm-hmm. They break the window to steal something that they see from the outside. Mm. They want to get a return on their investment, if you will.
Right.
So if there's nothing visible in your car or valuable in your car, then the odds of it getting broken into are lessened.
Okay.
There are people that walk around to check door handles, and if your door is locked, they won't give your car a second look. They'll keep going until they find unlocked cars, and then they'll go through the unlocked car and steal stuff. So just, again, kind of common sense. Don't leave valuables in plain sight. Lock your doors.
Sure.
Make your target harder to break into and less lucrative to break into.
Okay. No, that's great. So lastly, I wanted to talk about something that's probably going to touch on in greater detail in a future episode, and that is the recruitment process. What to expect, how long it takes, if you apply, what can you expect through the process. But kind of as a precursor to that, you are hiring.
It seems like with everybody else in this economy are constantly looking for people, police officer positions, but I also want to point out that we're only about 60% sworn police officers. We have about 100 employees, and of those 100 employees, 60 or so are police officers, and 40 or so are civilian non-sworn positions like dispatcher, records technician, property and evidence, crime analyst, community outreach coordinator. We have a number of different civilian positions that are open, and like we talked about, there are a number of volunteer positions. If you are established in your career but you still want to give back, we have the VIPS program, we have the Chiefs Advisors on Public Safety, we have a Citizens Academy, and there's a lot of different ways that you can get into the police department, learn about the police department, get involved in the police department without being a police officer, without even being an employee. So and then the process of getting hired, like you said, is a whole different animal. We get a lot of questions about that, and we have a whole web page dedicated to that, but it's a complex process for sure.
Sure.
But we're constantly looking for people, whether it's police officer, non-sworn support staff, or volunteers.
Got it. Well, that's great. That's all great information. And Chris, thank you so much again for being here. All this stuff was super interesting and definitely great to keep in mind as we enter the summer months. So thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for doing the podcast. Like I said, I've been here for almost 28 years as a city employee, and it's a great organization to work at as a city. It's a great community to serve. I just really enjoy being here. Obviously, I wouldn't have stayed for 2/3 of my life if it wasn't. So
sure.
Thanks for highlighting all the things the city does.
I appreciate that. That's it for this episode of Brea Talks. This episode and all episodes of Brea Talks are available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/City of Brea, and our city's cable channel, Brea TV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review. And thanks so much for listening in as Brea Talks.